Hello, everyone. My name is Michelee Smith-Tynes. I'm a journalist. I'm a teacher. I am an author. You can find my book, Taming the Beast of Anxiety, on Amazon. It's a practical guide to managing your anxiety, maybe even helping you find its purpose in your life. What if it has a purpose and a meaning? So I'm going to have a few things I want to tell you guys. One thing is my husband is so awesome. He's been doing this thing 10 days ago. It was 60 before 50. And today it is 50 before 50. What is 50 before 50? 50 before 50 is 50 days until I turn 50. Isn't that awesome? So my husband bought me this awesome bracelet. It's got elephants on it. Elephants are one of my favorite symbols. They symbolize togetherness and unity. They work together. They're communal. They build together. They're always together. And they're very wise and compassionate. So I love elephants. And I have my reasons. And he always gets me these cards from Love Pop. Thanks be to God indeed, Girly Chatter. Thank you so much. So this is the card that he got me from Girly Pop. From Love Pop. And when you open it, it's this beautiful peacock. Isn't that lovely? So he's just been building me up for my little 50th birthday. So I see my friend Faro is here. We're going to get him on in just a couple of minutes. I just want to remind you that I have actually gone through the whole thing. Advanced Healthcare Directive from Kaiser. I got this one from Kaiser. So next I'll be going through the one that you can print online for whichever state you live in. Oh my goodness. Somebody's at the door and I'm doing a live show. Don't these people understand? Anyway, jeez. See, this is why I need a film crew, so I don't have to worry about things like this. Hold on. Someone's at the door. Adrian, did you hear that? Okay, yeah, I'm live right now. I'm live right now. Trying to tell my family. I'm live right now. Trying to tell him I'm live right now. See, this is why. Do you want to be part of the Michelee Show crew? I need people to do the technological stuff. I need people to arrange my interviews. I need a social media manager. See, got me sweating up in here. That is so unprofessional to have to answer the door during an interview. Anyway, I've gone through this entire thing. And I will be discussing this with I know, Jenna Boki said, family. Exactly. That's how your family does you, y'all. Okay, so I will be discussing this a little bit later. Also, I'm going to be uploading all of my live videos to YouTube. You can check me out on YouTube now if you want to. It's a little disorganized over there. But I do at least have my Sunday shows all arranged in order. If you want to check that out. My Sunday show is called A Conversation, and we deal with race issues. So anyways, I'm not sure if you know, but about Jenna Boki said, what is this? It's called an Advanced Healthcare Directive, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about why you need to have an advanced directive, why it's important to you and your family. I've been talking about that. So my guest that I'm about to have on has a lot of information about a lot of other things that you would find beneficial for your family, making sure that your family is protected in case you get in a situation like I was in 2017. I ended up in a coma for almost 2 weeks, 12 days. I was comatose. So my family was not prepared. And I want to make sure that that does not happen to you. So I'm going to see if I can get him on now. Let me try this out. Go live with Faro Limitless. I hope you're ready, homie. This is my soul brother, Faro. Okay, press that. See, guys, I have an iPhone and I really don't know what I'm doing. Let's see. Faro, if you could send me a request, it would probably be a whole lot easier. Oh no, some reason it says unable to join. Faro, if you could sign out and then sign back in. I don't know why it says you're unable to join, but that is annoying when that happens. Faro, if you hear me, sign out and then sign back in. That's weird. That's the second time that's happened where for some reason it says unable to join. So Faro, if you hear me, sign off and then come back on. Yep, he's off. So hopefully, let's just cross our fingers. Hopefully this will work. So anyway, this is an advanced healthcare directive that I got from Kaiser. All you have to do is just pick it up. Good. He sent me a request. It's always a little bit easier if I get a request. Phone may die. It doesn't have advanced directives, so I may not be able to return. So you can definitely check the video, Jenna Boki, because this is some really important information for you. There we go. There's Faro. Jenna Boki, I hope you catch the replay. And I send it to you to make your life easier. There's my brother! How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Making trouble as usual. You know.
I know. You're my troublemaker sister, so I always expect that from you.
I know, right? You know something's wrong if I'm not making
That's right. That's right.
So how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Actually, I had to dress up after a long time for this interview, which
feels weird,
which
doesn't
feels
it?
weird but feels good too, you know?
It feels good too. Yeah, see, I have my little business jacket on. Remember, I had to buy some blazers.
Like it. I like it.
So I didn't dress like a teacher. I felt like I was teacherly all the time. So your soul brother is right over there. He's getting some work done.
Oh my goodness. Send him my love.
I will. I'm sending it.
Tell him I'm getting that.
He's okay. So I've been sharing with my guests. Actually, I've gone through the entire advanced healthcare directive. It's free from Kaiser. You can just walk in and pick it up. It's not even stealing or anything. Just go grab one. If you don't know where it is, you can ask them. There are also some that you print off online. And I was telling them when I had that incident when I almost died, they gave one of these to my husband and asked him to fill it out. Do you think that's the best time to be going through something like that, Faro? I'm sorry. Introduce yourself first. Introduce yourself to the audience. Sorry.
Sure. First of all, let me say how much I appreciate you reaching out and requesting me to be interviewed by you. It's an honor.
Of course.
Second of all, hello to everybody and your friends and family and audience. It is actually quite interesting and also exciting for me to be in your show. You know, we love Michelee, and she's a very talented, wonderful heart that wants to make a huge difference in other people's lives. And actually, we have a lot in common, and I love that about her. And I would do anything to see her win and succeed with her goals and dreams.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
My pleasure.
That's real, brother.
Yeah,
He'll give me a hard time if he needs to, but he loves me. Trust me.
Yeah, that's how I hide behind it, right?
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I feel
so
like
anyways,
like
I'm all yours. You know, it's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Thank you.
I've been helping a lot of families when it comes to, life insurance, setting up trust, and basically planning for times that most people are not prepared to face.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not a favorite subject to talk about, but at the same time, it's something that is necessary. So I'm all yours. And if you have any questions, go ahead and you let me know when do you want me to start, and I'll go from there.
Okay. Well, we can basically start now. I guess the opener is, do you think that's the best time to be presented with something like this when your loved one is in a coma?
Absolutely. See, this is the thing. I mean, Once you are gone from this physical world, you do not have access physically and
Yeah.
normally to come back and make any changes.
Right.
And on a daily basis, when we wake up, we never think that today, actually, I'm going to have an accident or
Right.
something going to, happen and I'm going to go to coma.
Right.
Um, and then my future and the decision that needs to be made in a critical time is in someone else's hand. That is
Right.
not my family, doesn't know me, hasn't been,
Right.
related to me. And that's kind of a scary thing, because
It's,
imagine, I know people that have been in coma for over a year and they come back.
yes. Yes.
And I know people that have been in coma for, 3 4 weeks and they're gone. So you
Yeah.
never know. So the fact is, these are the things that we don't talk about because it's not something that we see every day on TV or listen to news and hear about it, but it's part of our life and system. And definitely you need to be prepared for it. Most importantly, you should be able to educate yourself. Like, you should be educated about these rules and regulations and the system that you
Yes.
live in,
Yes.
especially when it comes to your own, family and future and what's going to happen to me. God forbid if I'm not able to make any decisions. I know we talked about this. I know you were aware of what's happening around you, but
Yes.
how do you want to, make a decision? Say, hey, by the way, if something happens to me,
Yeah.
um, do this decision, make that decision, and
Right.
that's when it's so important to be prepared
Yes.
and put something together. And that's when I highly recommend. Yes, that's a very simple way to go with advanced directive. Just go pick up the paperwork, fill it out, and that's one way.
To at
I
least get started, you know,
Something.
get started and have something in place. But you're going to
Absolutely.
say, mm-hmm.
Yes, but I definitely highly, highly, highly recommend that you sit down with a lawyer, a professional, and do have your will and trust in place. And
Yes.
advanced directive is part of that, and you will have that in your trust, and it's a solid document. And I do not recommend you going for anything cheap. There are
Right.
places that you can go for $500 and get that done. I do
Mhm.
not personally recommend that. I would, because remember, when you're gone, this thing needs to work.
It
And
does.
right, and you can't come back and say, hey, let me rewrite it, right? So with that said, if you I know somebody that is my trusted person that I work with. So anyone that I come across that they need either their trust to be updated, anything in your finances that has been changed, even let's say you bought a new life insurance or you have a new IRA,
Yeah.
you need to update your trust. If you bought a house, if you sold your house, any changes needs to be documented in that, in your trust. So either you have one, it needs to be updated, or most people don't even have one. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that an advanced directive is part of that.
So you said a will and a living trust and an advance directive is included in those, right?
Correct.
Okay, so one topic I want to bring up, and I'm looking at both audiences. If you guys have questions or concerns, please let me know. I would love to ask Faro your question. And I think you can see some of the comments there as well. But one thing I want to think about is people also don't think about if if something happens to you and you're a little older, like 60 or 70, there ends up being a lot of infighting between kids sometimes. And how can a trust or a will help prevent the infighting? I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do anyway, but
Sure.
how can that prevent that from happening, or can it prevent that from happening?
Fantastic question. Yes, absolutely, it can. You can actually put documents and um, you know um, orders in place that we call it control from grave. So
Wow.
basically, you're
Control
gone.
from the grave. That's what it's called.
Yes, it is. So
That's powerful. Control.
yes, so you're gone,
Exactly.
absolutely gone. But guess what? Your will and your rules and things that you wanted to enforce
Mm-hmm.
are still in place and working. And
Yes.
that can be done by legal documentation called, basically like trust, the living trust. So
Mm-hmm.
in the living trust, you can actually assign and say, hey, when I die, this goes to my son, this goes to my daughter. Or you could split everything, equally in between them. Whatever you want to do, you can give everything you want to charity, and
Yes.
no one really can actually be mad at your sister or your brother. Or so
Right.
it's gonna uh, so we cannot say there's not going to be a fight,
Mm. Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Because
Because
people are
that's
going to do what they're going to do.
correct. That's their choice to
Right.
how to act upon that matter. But um, what we do know is when your wishes are written and you're legally getting enforced, they're getting legally enforced. Even when you're gone, no one can point finger at anyone else,
Right.
because it's written there and they cannot go change it. And that's how many, many, many wealthy and influential people do it, and that's
Right.
how actually they set up certain trusts, like irrevocable trusts, right?
Irrevocable trust. That's what that
Correct.
is. Okay.
So that they set in place, and they make sure that the generation after them is not going to waste their money, so they can
Right.
use the money in the right way. And if they want to like waste it, or go the wrong direction, now
Yeah.
that wrong direction depends on your perspective of life,
Right.
and
Your
your
judgment.
philosophy of life, your
Yeah.
judgment. Whatever you want that money to serve after you're gone, you can actually plan all that into that document. And that's what I love about it, right?
Intense. Yeah.
Yes. So now we're talking about passing. I wanted to make sure that I think it was 2, 3 weeks ago, I received another email from GoFundMe. And,
Yes.
and that those emails, honestly, God, they go on my nerves really bad. Not because someone is asking for help. I love to help other people. I love giving. Um,
Right.
and that's how I actually started. I helped somebody, and apparently now I'm part of that platform, and I keep receiving these emails.
I
Um,
see. Okay.
at some point, I gotta go, to the settings and
Cut it off.
setting. See, yeah, at least minimize it to a certain level. So,
Right.
point I'm trying to make is, um, there are so many people that are not prepared, and then
Yeah.
God forbid something happens to you.
Yes.
um, your family is dealing with a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So you do not want your family that is grieving,
Grieving. Right. You
that
can't
is
make
going
a
through a
decision
lot of
when you're
emotional,
grieving
right,
sometimes.
emotional pressure. They're
Yes.
down. They just lost somebody they loved so much. Now they
Right.
have to think about, how are we going to afford this?
Right.
Now they have to go beg other people. I'm so sorry I'm using this
No, but
strong word.
I see people with billboards out on they're having car washes to raise funds, especially like my people. I see Hispanic people doing this sometimes, people who live in poverty with just a little bit of planning. It could probably be done differently. So, I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, and it's really important. So, definitely, please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think every single person, you know how funny it is that we have insurance for our cars, for our home,
Yes.
right? I know people that have insurance for their pets.
Yep, I do too.
Um, and it's funny because when you insure your life, doesn't mean you're insuring yourself. You're insuring actually the future of your family
Right.
and loved ones.
Because you're somewhere else. You don't
Right.
even,
I,
you
I
might not.
understand some people don't want to leave anything, you know, behind, like for their next generation. I get that, and I respect that decision. That's
Right.
fine.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way, but the fact is, um, burial costs money.
Yes.
Ceremonies, churches, anything you want, like Doesn't matter what kind of belief you have. The cheapest way
Right.
is basically, oh my gosh, what is it called? They they turn you to ashes. Cremation.
Cremation. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes. So
I
that's
want to
the
be
cheapest
cremated.
way, and that's
And
about 5 grand, right?
$5 grand.
Right. And
Really?
5 grand, it's a lot of money
I
for
didn't know it
certain
was that
people,
much to cremate. Wow.
right? So you don't plan ahead. You are basically setting everyone else in your family for failure. So I'm a person that I'm very sensitive about my own responsibility. I want to make sure that no one is feeling any kind of pressure or
I right,
burden from me.
right,
I want to take care of myself. I want to make sure I'm a type of person. I want to make sure if I die tomorrow, everyone in my family and loved ones, at least financially, they're taken care of. So they
right,
don't have to worry about money,
right.
right?
Because that's
Especially
not
in my,
something you want to worry, grieve, and do that at the same time.
correct.
I was listening to what you were saying about the thing is, like, if somebody doesn't want to leave things to their family, that's their judgment and that's their choice. But the thing is, if that's what you really want, you need a will. Like, one day I was talking to a lady about advance directive, because that's about the extent of my knowledge right now. That's going
Correct.
to change. But she goes, well, I live by myself. I don't need an advance directive. Yes, you do. Because otherwise, you're letting the hospital determine how long you're going to be comatose, or what treatments they're going to do or not do on you. Or if that's your attitude, maybe you don't want your life to be spared at all. Maybe you just want them to leave you alone, but you're leaving that up to somebody else. I mean, I think the thing that's awesome about the things you're discussing is we have to start looking at them as a form of choice. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Everything in life is a choice.
Yes.
Everything is a choice. You choose to drink coffee or
Yes.
tea or
Yes.
water. It's your choice. So when it comes to it, I think it's more a matter of culture and mindset and philosophy of life, how you see the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Certain people are totally comfortable being a burden on others. And I understand how much, when it comes to life insurance, there is this thing that, hey, my uncle had life insurance, and when he passed, we didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Or my
Yeah.
dad, or my brother, or my aunt. So there is this, unfortunately, there is
Yeah.
this bad reputation.
And a sting. People feel a sting. Like,
Correct, correct. And
like,
it's no one likes the cost on a monthly basis for something that is not going to work, right? And
right.
unfortunately, no one is there to go, fight the, like, when you're gone, you can't go back and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, you told me when I passed this
Right.
is going to pay my,
Right.
250,000 or $500,000 to my family, but it's not. So at the end of the day, trusting the person you work with
Yes.
and
It's important.
knowing that they know what they're talking about, because there are a lot of agents out there that they are passionate about what they do and they want to help others, but they don't have the right knowledge, and they might give you something that is not really doing the job that you're expecting to do. So
Right.
there's so many different life insurances out there these days,
Yeah.
guys. It used to be just for protection of your
Mm-hmm.
family. So you would die, like your family would get a certain amount of money. That
Mm-hmm.
used to be a simple function of life insurance. These days, it's amazing what they have become.
I know.
You
Can you
can,
talk? Mhm.
sure, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, um, I thought that critical illness and chronic illness were the same, but they're not. And I'm so grateful to you for educating me on that. Because, like, in my situation where I was going to be in a coma for a long time, like you said, that could have extended a year, 3, 5. Some people are in comas for years. And so, what is the difference between chronic illness and critical illness riders for your insurance?
Sure. So let me first explain what riders are, because
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's a term that we use in insurance industry. It's not many people are familiar with that. So
Thank you.
riders are options that you can add to your policy when you're buying it. It's like when you're buying a car, you could choose to have sunroofs or add certain, gadgets to your car. It's a
Mm-hmm.
concept.
Like an
Now,
upgrade.
it's an upgrade. It's an additional function that you are buying and you pay for it. Now,
Okay.
the beauty of it is there are certain insurance companies that they will give that to you for free.
Wow.
Certain
Really?
insurance companies will give you 3, 4 riders for free that it comes already, with your, with your license. I'm sorry, with your policy. So,
Wow.
with that said, it's extremely important for people to do the research and at least
Yes.
go to a professional and ask for more information. Now, that's a rider, right? So there is one rider that's very common. It's called accelerated death benefit rider. That
Okay.
means, God forbid, if you are diagnosed, you're not going to live more than 3, 4, 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They will give you this. You have the option to cash out your life insurance. Let's say you have $1 million coverage, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they will give you $1 million. Now you can choose what to do with that $1 million when you're alive. Some people
While
say
you're still alive.
correct. So some people say, I'm going to go fight this disease or whatever I have to see if I can make that go away. Some people say, I want to go see the world. I want to spend my last days having fun. Some people say, no, I want to be alive when I'm buying the house for my son or my daughter.
Right.
So
Right.
whatever you want to do, you can do that. So that's accelerated death benefit rider. The second rider, it's a critical illness rider. So if you are critically ill, right, that's something that um, these, you know, these companies, the insurance companies, will give you uh, 90%, sometimes 80%. There's a percentage, right,
Mm-hmm.
of your coverage and your life insurance amounts.
Wow.
They call it face amount to actually go ahead and heal yourself. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say you had an accident, you're in the hospital. Now the hospital bill going to be $250,000.
Yeah.
Your your insurance, your health insurance is going to cover up to a certain point. That's why the number one reason for bankruptcy in America is medical bills,
Wow.
right? So
Unbelievable.
the rest of it, you can actually leverage that rider. Now another thing is many hospitals will do chemo on you if you, God forbid, have cancer, right?
Right.
Someone has cancer. Um, or they do radiation. Let's say you don't believe in those methods and you want
Mm-hmm.
to take it somewhere else. And well, most, insurances, health insurance is not going to pay for alternative
Medicine.
ways to
Okay.
medicine to heal yourself.
Okay.
So you can actually, there are certain companies that will allow you actually to take that money out and spend it the way you feel is the right way to heal yourself,
Wow.
right? And then of course the chronic illness rider is when you become chronically ill, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like disability. It's not disability um, insurance, and it's not a
Okay.
long-term care, right? But
Okay.
so what the functionality is, God forbid, let's say you have an accident, you become disabled for more than 3 months, so you cannot work and you don't have any income,
Right.
right?
Right.
Most people are going to lose their house
Yes.
because they can't go to work, they can't get paid. And if most people go on disability insurance with the states, which depending on how much money you've been making in the past, you have a certain amount to pull out. But God
But it's
forbid
not
if
what
you,
you're used to.
so this will actually come and calculate based on the health damage that you have received because of that accident, and they can actually give you up to $10,000 a month depending on how much coverage you have and so on and so forth to pay for your medical expenses and
Mhm.
living expenses.
I
right?
see.
But it gets activated if you are disabled more than 3 months and you cannot do two of the 6 daily activities, which is like bathing, eating, going to the
I
restroom,
mm-hmm.
things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the riders, these are the things that actually come, and these are additional protections that people don't even know.
No,
They're
they don't.
only paying for, let's say, $1 million life insurance.
Right.
The rest is coming for free, and they're
Right.
not taking advantage of it. So you're
Because
not
they don't
even
know. They don't know.
correct. Correct. And
Let
and
me
the thing is, let's say you don't even want it to leave money for anyone else, right?
right.
Do you care about your own finance
Your
and your
own,
own
yeah,
retirement?
your own self. Yeah.
Because God forbid, if something happens to you, most people tap into their 401k to pay for the bills.
Yeah, that's
And
a
I
whole nother
wasn't.
talk show, Faro, the
Yes, I know.
401k.
And
You
we'll talk
already
about
know
that
we're doing another show, right? Only on the 401k. It's going to be
too.
called the 401k show.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now that I've lightened the mood a little bit, let me quiz you. This will be fun.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun because you're a professional, you know this. But I'm thinking, like, my thing is being transparent, and I'm really good with being transparent. But some other people are not. So some of the people that are viewing, they might want to ask some questions, but they might not be brave enough. So
Sure.
my situation where I was in a coma, chronic illness, critical illness, or accelerated death, which would be of benefit to me in that
Um,
case?
that would be a very hard question to answer, because at the end of the day, it becomes an underwriting decision and a contract decision.
I got a lot of hearts on that one. See, somebody wanted to, they're still hearting. Do you see that?
Right, right,
Somebody
right.
wanted to ask that and was not brave enough to ask it.
Sure.
So then
So,
that's why you need one of those insurances that has all three of them maybe for free or
and
at a
that's
low
why, yes, and that's why you must have the advanced directive and all those things in place
price.
for people that are alive to follow up on those things. So see, if you set everything up on your own and you don't educate your family on what was set up, that's a
Yes.
very bad decision. Because
Yes.
if when you're in coma or in that situation, God forbid, what's going to happen is they have no clue what you have done in the past and what is in place. So
Mm-hmm.
another point is, whenever you are buying life insurance, make sure the person that is beneficiary, first or second beneficiary, right, they know about it. And I highly recommend that you bring them with you. Let them sit down with your agent and they talk to them and get to know them. So they
Okay.
know that there's something in place. Does that make sense? That's
Yeah,
why
that
you
makes perfect
always
sense.
want to sit down with your family when you are making this type of decisions with a professional. So
Right.
everybody knows what's in place. There's so many times in the past that wife calls, and says, did my husband do anything with you? I remember he said he's coming to see you, and unfortunately he didn't, and now he's gone, and the
Right.
family doesn't have any money, and she's
Nothing.
basically just
Right.
reaching for any small alley or hope that she has left.
Right. Like clawing on to something, trying to
Yes,
find something.
yes,
Okay. Let's say that um I am a motorcycle rider. Hey,
right,
I'm on a motorcycle. What is it? A motorcycle gang or team or
right,
something like that. I'm trying to be cool, Faro. I'm trying real hard. And I get in an accident and I break my leg
uh-huh.
and I can't go to work for 3 months. Which of those would be a benefit, or is that again an underwriting decision?
No, then in that case, because you're alive, and it's a very straightforward situation. Because when you're in coma, they don't know are you gonna live? Are you gonna
I know.
die?
I
So
know.
it's everything is in the air. It's kind of hard to make that decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
You break your leg, God forbid, let's say both of them, and you're in the hospital, and doctor says at least a year or two for recovery, and you're not going to be walking at least for another year, right?
Yeah.
You know what the situation is, and that when the doctor writes that down, now you can take that writing.
True.
company
Right.
and say, this is what the situation is. Now they have their own trusted doctors that they're going to leverage for second opinion. And everything, once everything matches what they're going to do, they're going to honor their agreements. And
Right.
depending on what type of policy you have, you could leverage the critical illness rider and basically get up to, sometimes 80 to 90%, depending on the policy of your, coverage, up to certain amounts per month. It could be $2,000, could be $10,000, right?
I
Um,
see.
yes, that's going to pay you per month until you are not disabled anymore, or you are capable of taking care of yourself and going back to work, which is going to
This
save.
prevents from going into debt, Faro.
It's
Because
going
see,
to
this is
it's going to protect you from going to debt. It's going to protect your house.
yes,
It's going to protect the place you live.
yes,
It's going to put food on your plate.
yes.
It's going to pay for all your expenses and everything, right? If it's designed the right way, right?
Right,
So
right.
um,
It's going to prevent you from slipping into a depression
that's
in
another thing,
some way,
right?
at least to some degree, for financial reasons.
Right. When you're in that situation, the last thing you want to worry about is money.
No, you don't want to worry about money then.
Health
That,
is the number one, blessings in our life that God Almighty has given us. And
yes,
that situation that you see half of your body is not functioning,
I know.
the last thing you want to worry about and fight for is money. And now imagine
I'm
if
so
you have.
passionate about this is because what my husband had to go through, like just hearing him tell me that story, and he doesn't know how long I want to be intubated, or actually even if I want to be intubated, like that's not a time if somebody has a tube down their throat to ask questions. Miss Tea Leaf is here. She's one of my friends. She watches my shows sometimes. She said, what different types of life insurance are there?
So there is a term life insurance that is basically going to cover you for a term. It's very basic. However, there are certain ones that they come with those riders, and they're very affordable. So you can definitely, get more information. You can reach out to, our sister Michelee, and she's gonna point you to the right direction.
Yes, I will.
And contact, put you in touch with the right people. So there's term insurance, there's whole life insurance that's going to cover you for whole life. But, it's kind of, for me, it's kind of outdated. I would not offer whole life myself unless there's not a choice. Then there's universal life, right? Or guaranteed universal life. They call it GUL or UL,
Mm,
universal. And then there's a variable universal life that
okay.
it comes with cash value, and your money grows actually tax free, which another thing that I would like to talk about, how
Please,
fantastic it
please.
is to leverage your life insurance for for having another source of income in the future tax free, so which is not going to push you. So for example, if you are getting what is it called, social security, right, and you
Yeah.
have also pension and you have 401k, but when you retire, you're going to get taxed like crazy.
Wazoo.
It's not good.
No.
So you better plan ahead and put your money in places that it's not going to add as an income to you, which life insurance will pay you back tax free, and as a form of loan, which they call it wash loan, right? So you don't have to pay it even back. But the beauty of it is it's not going to count as income, so you can actually take advantage of that, get paid, and not pay less taxes. So
Right.
but anyways, there's another one. So we said term life insurance, whole life
Term,
insurance,
whole,
universal life,
UL,
UL, universal life, variable universal life,
BUL, is it?
UL, correct, and indexed universal life, right? So there are 5 different type of insurances when it comes to basics. Now, each one of these guys, they're different designs, different structures, different functionalities. So if someone comes to me says, hey, protection is more important to me, might be one. That is, if someone says, hey, I just bought a house, I want to make sure for next 30 days I want to cover the, the mortgage and protect my family. If something happens to me, they don't lose the house.
Yes.
A term insurance. So it just depends on the situation. And that's why it's so important to do a financial needs analysis with somebody that you sit down with. So if you're sitting down with your financial professional, or actually better to say insurance professional, and they're just giving you a
Cookie cutter.
ballpark, they're just giving you a product, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's not, the job hasn't been done the right way. So you want to
Right.
make sure that someone is educated enough to sit down and do financial needs analysis with you first, to find out exactly what the situation is, and they can calculate how much insurable need you have. And then based on that, they can point you to the right direction. It could be a combination of 2 or 3 different life insurances that you would need. One for purpose of cash value, one for purpose of protection and riders.
I see.
So it really gets to that point of expertise. And that's why, yes, I did put a tie on. I tried to be all presentable today. But let me put it this way. Not everybody that looks sharp and looks professional knows what they're talking about.
That's
There's
it
a
right
lot
there.
out there.
Nor do they care. Nor do they
Yeah.
necessarily care about you.
Yes. So
Let's
there's a
get
lot
that
of
straight.
people out there that are all, excited, and they're very passionate, and big smile. They look nice. They smell
Yeah.
good. But
Yes.
honestly, and I don't think that they have bad intentions, but when you sit
Right.
down with them and you get something, it doesn't necessarily mean they did a good job, because
Right.
level of
Right.
knowledge and expertise that at the end of the day, most people need.
Right. And that, I think that's important because there is a lot of rise of a lot of racial tensions in this country, in America right now. And I think a lot of times people give too much credit to the outer appearance. In other words, like they might judge somebody who's a darker skinned, agent, or an agent that's from another country. You know what I'm saying? But quite frankly, as I introduced this entire show, you're my soul brother. When we went to the nursery that day, when you rescued my soul that day, when I posted, I said I went to the nursery with my brother. I didn't say what country you were from, what you look like, or any of those other things. And I think that what you're saying is very important. I think you need to judge a person's heart when you are entrusting them with your family. You won't be here. You be in another dimension somewhere else doing other things or not. But you got to think about this person. Do you trust this person with your family? I can say I do, for you, but what qualities should people be looking for when they're finding an agent? Because everybody's not going to be as lucky as me to have a Faro.
I appreciate you. And now I have to send you a gift, and at least
I
1,000
want a gift.
after all these good things you told me. But yes, you're absolutely right and correct, because these are very critical, important decisions.
Yes.
It's not only about you and your future and your protection. It's about your family and your legacy,
Yes.
people around you. So if you really love them big, make sure that if the person you're sitting down with, it's truly caring about you, and they're not the dollars that's going to come out of that policy to them.
Right.
But going back to that, skin color, I just wanted to let everyone know that, believe it or not, I have a lot of African American friends, but when that thing happened, that unfortunate event happened, but I could not think of, like, maybe 2 or 3 came right away into my head that I knew that they're okay, my African American friends. The rest, I had to really think hard to realize that they are actually African. So
exactly. That's how my
like,
friends too.
that's how insignificant that was to me when I met them, because I don't see color.
Oh,
I want to see who the person is, regardless of their colors, right?
Right.
We have good people and bad people anywhere you go. I don't believe that we have bad people. I think I truly feel like we have troubled people, not bad, or misinformed people.
I agree.
or
I agree.
right?
Ignorance.
There's
Yes,
God
ignorance.
in them, and they're good people. They're just being raised the wrong way. Maybe they're, we say the eyes and ears of their souls being closed,
Yes.
so they don't hear the right message anymore, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
there is a huge need for awakening around the world, and it's
There
happening.
is. It's happening though. COVID is making it happen.
Correct,
It is
correct.
happening.
And one of the things I think this COVID needs, it's doing is, the same topic. Many of us are living in the greatest country in the world, America, right? It's
Yes.
it's a free market system.
Yes.
It's a capitalist system,
Preach.
right?
Preach, Faro.
So
Preach.
let me tell you something, guys.
That's what black people say. Preach.
Right,
Go on.
right. So, let me tell you something, guys. You live in capitalist system. What does that mean? Means money talks.
Money talk.
Money is the number one focus. That's
Yes.
capitalism, right? I'm not saying there's no humanity, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, money talks. Now, most people in this country don't know anything about how money works.
No.
They don't
And I
know
know for a fact
about,
it's not taught in school. I'm a teacher.
right? And that's very scary, because if
It
you're,
is.
it's like you're in an ocean, you don't know how to swim.
You don't know who to ask for help either.
Right? You're gonna die.
Yep.
You're gonna drown.
Yep.
So you live in America. You need to understand how applying for a credit card works. What is credit card at all? Like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Right. Do you
How
need
can
one?
my credit score? How can I protect my family? What kind of legal documents do I need to have? Guys, there are people that they're multi millionaires, but they pay less taxes than you. They
Yes.
pay
You sure
70,
do.
$40,000 a year. How do they do that? It's
Mm-hmm.
knowledge.
Yes.
It's education, right? So now they have enough money, or they're fortunate enough to run across a group of people that they had the knowledge, but that doesn't mean that you cannot educate yourself.
Exactly.
And that's something that I'm actually, very proud to say that I'm very passionate about. I love to teach people about their little things. If sometimes I can't help them, I cannot
Right.
help them, but at least I can educate them.
But the thing I love about you though is if you can't help them, you tell them you can't help them. And you also tell them I'll see if I can find somebody who can, because it's not me.
True.
You would be surprised exactly how much that means to people. Like, and you'd also, well, you might not be surprised, but so many agents don't do that. They'll just push a product on them just to push a product on them so they could say they sold them something. And so I feel like that is definitely where a major gift for you is a lot of people just simply aren't like that as human beings. One thing I do want to make sure we have time to talk about is the times we're at about, I think we have about 12 more minutes. I want to make sure that we have time to talk about the types of insurance that cover funeral costs. Like, I don't want to say the name of any company. You can if you want to, but like I said, I see my people standing out on corners holding signs. I see Hispanics sometimes on corners holding signs, and it kills a part of my soul. I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely.
So, which types of insurance, if you can say names, or which types would include those costs? And by the way, one of your friends or family, Anahita, said she's proud of you, Faro.
I appreciate that. Yes, she's my second cousin, and I love her very much.
That's so
So,
sweet. So sweet.
so this is the thing. They're called final expense policies.
Okay.
And final expense policies, there's so many different types of final expense policies. There are different companies. I'm not going to drop any names, because I don't
Right.
want to give,
I'm
I don't
glad I didn't either.
lean towards a company, or because there's literally so many different types out there, that at the end of the day, it depends on what you are looking for and what kind of functionality you want that product to have. Sometimes it's just a simple whole life or universal life insurance that becomes whole, and it basically pays 10,000, 15,000, and it's usually very affordable, up to, I don't know, 50,000 you can go with some companies, right? So they're designed, you pay up to certain, you could actually do one-time payment, and they, pay for the whole policy up fronted. and then that policy will take care of the rest when you are gone. But then your family has to come and take that money and
Mhm.
pay others. Now, most of the time when you have life insurance, it takes some time for, like, death certificate needs to be issued for you to
Right,
do that and prove that the person passed. And so somebody needs to come up with cash to get things started,
right,
right? So those are not necessarily the best, the most advanced ones, and most people have those, right? But
right.
eventually pays for everything, right? At least the amount that is supposed to pay.
Mhm.
There are certain other ones that actually give you concierge service, like a lot of more services come, so all these other gadgets like riders that we talked about, they
Yes,
with them. And what happens in this situation, there are certain ones that literally you can design your funeral,
yes,
music, who should be the musician, what company, what kind of casket, which church, everything. So
yes,
you can design the whole thing. So when the call is being made, they just make one call.
yes. And it's
Your,
done.
your loved ones, right?
Yes,
Main family members. They just make one call and the rest is taken care of. So nobody needs to go shopping and negotiating prices for places, right? They do all that work for you. How, of
right.
course, the second one is a little bit more pricey than the first one because it offers more, and more peace for your loved ones.
Peace. And for yourself too.
Of
More
course.
peace for you. Yeah.
So with that said, there are so many different types out there. For example, they're very, there are certain ones that they will pay right away, and you can actually, um, they will contact the, cemetery, and everywhere else themselves. So you don't have to do all that, but they're not going to go um, talk to the church or
Right,
the casket, none of those things. So it
right,
depends. And sometimes some of them, your loved ones don't have to be in between, and they deal
right,
with the insurance company and the cemetery and everywhere else themselves. And some other ones that they actually need your involvement more. So at the end of the day, as I said, it comes to individual needs. um,
yes,
so it needs to be shopped around, and you got to trust someone that
yes,
they have their heart in the right place and their intention, and also they are working in a platform that they have access to a variety of companies. That's an
yes,
So there's a lot of good professional, lovely, good-hearted people that they're limited in what products they can offer, and that's going to eventually hurt your clients, right? So um, I'm a big fan of open platforms that you have access to all companies, everything, and you know that way you can serve them the best way.
mm-hmm. My 20-year-old just came home. So one of my personal projects is I want to make sure that him and his older siblings at least have an advance directive. So I'm going to arrange to have a time to just, have pizza and they all come over and we all fill it out all at the same time. Where is it going to be kept? I know that a lot of parents are not discussing these things with their teenage and their young adult children, but things happen. And when you are in that situation, like I said, my heart completely bled for what my husband had to go through when I'm up in a coma and he can't ask me any questions.
Sure.
So I've actually even talked to my 12-year-old about it. It was a pretty morbid conversation to him, but I feel like one of the things that I do across all of these shows that I do is I bring attention to the fact that there are so many conversations that are not happening, not just in America, but in the world. There are things that people are not willing to discuss, they're not willing to open up to. Um, we have, maybe about 5 minutes. Do you think it's important to open up this dialogue with the younger generation? How young should you go?
Believe it or not, I sat down with someone that over 50 years were part of Wall Street, a very nice guy, American Jewish person. And I had, because he was there when Wall Street literally kind of got started. I mean, he was 12 years old when he started working in Wall Street.
Wow.
Like, how did you even at
I
12
know.
years old
How did
get in there? And he told me I was 8 years old when my dad gave me his annuity policy and told me to read it and understand it. And he said it was literally a different language for me and I couldn't understand anything. And he made me read it so many times that I finally understood what it says. And then he quizzed me on it. And then one day,
good with quizzing people.
right? So and he said to him, one day this will make a huge difference in your life because you need to understand
Yes.
what is in your like in these documents, right?
Mhm.
And that's how he started reading more and more and more and more about different products, different investments, policies, and things like that. And he ended up being one of the very successful people at in Wall Street. And now he's multimillionaire, retired, has properties all over the place and flies back and forth between New York and California. Point I'm trying to make is like, you think at 8 years old, letting your kids go play around is
Yeah.
good. But let me tell you something, guys. I love you very much because you're God's children.
Yeah. Amen.
Let me tell you something straightforward. If you don't take that responsibility to teach your kids about money and how things function, it is your fault if they grow up and they're in debt. It is your fault because they don't know, oh my gosh, I applied for this loan, but they don't know they just signed their life away. Because
Right.
they're going to become a doctor with $500,000,
Exactly.
loan hovering above their head, that is just going to be working the next 10 years to hopefully be able to pay it off. So there's so many different holes that parents needs to
Yes.
be responsible to learn about that themselves. Second is they need to have those tough conversations, and you can make it fun conversation.
Yes. Right.
Producing pizza,
Right.
ice cream or something, say, hey, if you do this, if you read this, if you pass that, I take you to Magic Mountain. I don't know, be creative. Or I let Uncle Faro come and hug you.
Uncle Faro. Uncle Faro. Well, okay. So counting down again. We have 3 minutes. But one thing that I want to think about is everybody always pushes kids to go to college, and some kids just are not. That's just not what is going to happen. Are there any opportunities for employment in the insurance industry? Like, because some people, they might be really good at doing that, but not necessarily good at college. Like, for instance, could you go pretty much directly out of high school and be an insurance agent?
Absolutely, you could. All you need is a license, right? So there's so many different licenses that I highly recommend. The more licenses you get, the better, the more you understand. However,
Okay.
you have to have a college degree, right, to be able to help others and understand how system works. There are.
Did you say you do need to or you don't need to?
You don't need to go
Need a college degree. Okay, that's good.
to become an insurance agent, right? I know people that have PhD in finance
And still don't know some of this
they
stuff.
understand less about how money works in the US
Yes.
than myself. I'm
Right.
being very open and honest with you.
Right.
So it's about which book should I read, because not every book is right and good to read. The information that you're feeding yourself is very important. So having guidance when it comes to that is very important. Having
Yeah.
coach you through it and show you the right direction, point you to right books and media out there, and that's very.
Right.
But yes, absolutely, you can become a professional, and you could be 6 years old, 7 years old, become.
Right. Any age. Well, we have 50 minutes. I want you to make sure you tell the audience your name and where can they find you.
My name is Faro Amiri. They call me Faro, and my last name is Amiri. And anyone who wants to reach out to me, you can do that through, through Instagram or.
Uh-oh. You got frozen.
Lovely sister, right?
Yay. Yay. Thank you so much, Faro.
What a pleasure.
Definitely love you.
meeting you.
We
And
have at least 2 more shows. We're gonna have to do a 401k show.
oh, I'm not
Later.
available. Leaving
Another time.
after the beep.
Have a good day, my friend.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your
Bye.
show.